Chris Rock opens up about impact on his life after receiving a life-changing diagnosis. You know Chris Rock, right? Funny guy, not afraid to be outspoken, sting of hints, movies under his belt. Well, maybe you don't know him as well as you think you do. In fact, even Rock himself was unaware of the condition he had for years, one that he only learned of in his mid 50s. So the star finally got some serious help for the first time, and it appears that the diagnosis has had life altercations effect for the famous Joker. If Rock had known about his condition earlier though, he would probably have incom- incorporated it into his act. The comedian is known for his no-hold-barred approach after all, his willingness to take and his willingness to talk frankly about issues such as race and gender. He even used his past trials and traumas as inspiration for his materials. And while Rock life hasn't always been easy, he's still been able to turn his experience into comedy gold. However, in 2020, the entertainer revealed a diagnosis that had turned his world upside down. The overwhelming news even forced Rob to address some of the emotional baggage that he had been carrying with him since childhood. Rock was a fairly typical kid, showing his little signs that he had one day grow up to become most famous comedians on the planet. He was actually born in Andrews, South Carolina, although his family moved to Brooklyn, New York when he was just a toddler. And it was in New York, specifically Bedford, Stuyvesant, and Crown Heights, that the future star started off his life. Rock wasn't alone, of course. There was his parents, Rose and Julius, and his 7 brothers and sisters, as well as numerous other foster children over the years. Rock's mother, in particular, was eager to help give a startup to underprivileged kids and happily did so, in spite of the financial pressure this ultimately put on the household. Rose and Julius naturally went Rose and Julius naturally wanted their son to flourish in life too. That means he was ultimately enrolled at the respective Steuben High School, which boasted plenty of high school achievement alumni. But even though Rock was obviously smart, his early educational experience were far from happy. Was this perhaps connected to something deeper going on with Rock himself? Well, it appeared not at this stage. In 1999 interview with Ebony magazine, Rock said that his time at school was like being in Vietnam. He also claimed that he was too busy trying to avoid a beating to really apply himself in class, and eventually things got so bad that Rock's mom and dad pulled him out of high school at 17, with Rose later admitting that she feared for her son's life. So even before his life diagnosis, Rock was no stranger to hardship. He would eventually drop out of high school altogether, though he did go to earn his GED. Still, during the hardest time of being bullied, Rock was always able to find escape through comedy. Wow, so he has been bullied well since he was younger. Rock actually wasn't the class clown you may have expected. Instead, he would be up past bedtime so he could turn into the Tonight Show, the funny man told Ebony, especially when Bicobly used to host, because he would do his monologue and he would smoke when he did it. He used to smoke a cigar. He was cool. He was a Mac Daddy back then. I watched a movie last night on Mac Daddy. And Rock soon decided to follow the comedy path himself alongside working menial jobs at McDonald's, Red Lobster. He started gigging in New York comedy venues while still just a teen, but success didn't come overnight, nor did riches. The fledgling comedian earned just $5 for his first paid stint at Catch a Rising Star Club. It was lucky then that Eddie Murphy saw Rock when he did, yes. The legendary entertainer took the young talent under his wings. After watching him on stage, Murphy then helped Rock to land a spot at 1987 special Uptown Comedy Express. The same year, Rock appeared alongside his mentor in a small role in Beverly Hills Cop. One thing I've noticed Eddie Murphy is he has helped a lot of people, not just Chris Rock, but even Dave Chappelle too. And Rock's career only rose further when he joined the cast of Saturday Night Live in 1990. This was despite the fact that just a year prior he'd considered quitting comedy altogether. Tragically, his dad had died following a ruptured ulcer, and the comedian had felt that his job was failing to support his grieving family. Oh no. Rock later told Ebony, "The only time I ever wanted to give comedy up is when my dad died, and I didn't have any money. I wasn't making enough money as a stand-up to help my family preserve though." And the new gig on Saturday Night Live gave the up-and-coming star the opportunity to bring his work at a larger audience. But Saturday Night Live failed to be the career-defining opportunity Rock may have imagined. For one, he saw himself as limited to portraying only talking black character on the show. He also stood in the wings as his SNL co-star and names for themselves as comedy talents. So Rock left Saturday Night Live after three seasons for sketch show in Living Color, which unfortunately not long after got the axe. It was then that the funny man decided he had to carve out his own path if he wanted to make it in comedy. Then that's something we all agree to and take courage. First, Rock created a star in the hip-hop HTC before, which luckily proved a box office hit. Then his career really took off after a series of HBO specials that brought his original material to a whole new audience. Second of this, Chris Rock Bring the Pain aired in 1996 and won two Emmy Awards, whatever condition Rock had then didn't appear to interfere with his talents. and with the help of his TV special, Rock climbed up the comedy ladder. While his work often dealt with issues of race in America, he wasn't afraid to poke fun at anyone. This candid approach won him a legion of fans too, although it wasn't without controversy. Rock had previously honed his stand-up skills in his Brooklyn basement, which he would fill with mirrors so that he could see himself at every angle. He was reportedly eager to be the best in the business after all, but it seems that funny man, perfectly slick and confident on stage, demeanor belied his well-hidden insecurities. In September 2020, Rock told Hollywood Reporter that had this great combination of big egos and low self-esteem. The ego gets you out on the stage, but the low self-esteem is the thing that makes you practice so much because you don't believe in yourself at all. Still, whatever Rock was doing seems to work. It led him on his own TV series, rather unimaginably titled Chris Rock Show and the burgeoning big screen career. You may have remembered you may have even remembered him from his memorable turns in Beverly Hills Ninja, Dogma and Nurse Beatty. And in 2005, the entertainer won one of the biggest jobs in Hollywood. Oscar host Rock became Rock, of course. He wasn't afraid to cross the line on occasion, as well as aiming gags at audience members. He critiqued the Academy Award itself, claiming that it didn't appear to be straight black men. A risky thing to say, but probably true. That it didn't appeal to straight black men. Despite making a stare with his first Oscar outing, Rock returned to the host the award again in 2016 once more. He didn't shy from delicate matters, telling the audience is Hollywood racist? You're damn right Hollywood is racist, but it ain't the racist that you grown accustomed. That's how Hollywood is. But things are changing. That second stint at the Oscar topped off yet another successful decade for Rock. He's still going strong today. Fans may know that the comedian backed the lead in the fourth season of Fargo. He's also the narrator of 2020 adaptation of Roald Dahl classic The Witches. Not bad by anyone's standard. Still away from the spotlight, Rock has been dealing with his life-changing diagnosis. It's that famously candid entertainer eventually opened up in a tell-all interview with Hollywood Reporters. There he revealed that he had even gone into therapy after learning of his conditions. a comedian, had been led to investigating the issue after a friend suggested him that he may have Asperger's syndrome. The neurodevelopmental disorder is a form of autism that can hinder communication skills and social interaction. People with Asperger can also fixate on certain subjects' interests and repeat certain behaviors. So confronted with that possibility, Rock decided to do some digging. He under of medical analysis until he finally discovered that he didn't have Asperger. Instead, he was told that he had been going through life with non-verbal learning disorder (NVLD), known to make learning visual, spatial, and motor skills that little bit harder. Folks with the condition can often struggle socially too. That being said, the way the NVLD presented itself can differ in each individual. For work, the disorder causes difficulties with non-verbal causes, which can make everyday life a lot trickier, as comedian explained to the Hollywood. Another way that NVLD appeared to affect rock was in his tendency to take at face value, and apparently the star claimed that he could also be inflexible in his world view at times. He noted, by the way, all those things are really great things for writing jokes. They are just not great for one-on-one relationships. In recent years, the comedian had to deal with one relationship issue in all with two public people to Malek Compton, the mother of his two daughters, almost 20 years after the couple tied the knot. However, Rock filed for divorce, confessing to have been unfaithful in the process. But there was a silver lining. Rock divorce from Compton became the source material for packed-out shows, as well as a highly lucrative Netflix special. Even joked that he was accepting less than desirable jobs in order to keep up with his alimony payment. In real life, Rock did line up a bunch of new projects, including a book and Super Bowl commercial. In his interview with Hollywood Reporter, the comedian didn't suggest that the new undiagnosed NVRD had played a part in his divorce. He, however, claimed that it had made some interaction more awkward, particularly when he encountered people who didn't seem to like him. After Rock had received his diagnosis, he was finally able to make more sense. Rock explained to Hollywood reporters how do always just chalk it up. to be to being famous. Anytime someone will respond to me in a negative way, I do think whatever they're responding to something that's to do with who they think I am now, realizing it was me. A lot of it was me. So to make sense of his NVID diagnosis and the impact that it had been on his life work, so therapy had begun to see not not one but two professionals spending several hours each week in their company as well as helping him to understand his limitation. The session has allowed the entertainer to unpick his childhood trauma. Through his career, Rock often used his formative experience, including racial abuse he endured, as material for his comedy. In fact, his sitcom Everybody Hates Chris, which ran from 2005 to 2009, took a course from his teenage years and education in all-white school in 1980s in New York. But because Rock was able to joke about hard times he believed that he was over them, he told. I thought I was actually dealing with it, and the reality is I never dealt with it. The reality was the pain and fear that brought me. I was experiencing it every day more than a few of us can relate to. So why it was the comedian the LD diagnosis that ultimately pushed him into therapy appear also to be helping him deal with underlying issues that he's been carrying through life, reflects on his childhood bullied. Rock said, I'm not belittling to the youth, but I wish somebody had sent me bad text when I was a kid. These motherfuckers were trying to kill me. Yeah, man. Revealing some of the painful memories from his school, Rock told the Hollywood Reporter that he has once had to face signs reading, Nigga, go home. He also recalled regular beatings and spoke of how classmates had thrown balloons filled with urine at his head. Uh, but despite the abuse he encountered, Rock was not one to run home in tears. Plus, he had said his mother and dad were struck. Rock went on, no matter what I was going through, it paid a comparison to what my mom, my dad went through. So there wasn't a lot of dealing with it.